Well, let me get onto the lines now. I have lawyer Wiafe. He's popularly known as Dennis. So, Counsel Dennis joins me this morning on the show. Good morning, Counsel, and thanks for joining us this morning on YFM.
Good morning, NY. Good morning to your listeners as well.
Thank you very much. I know you have a very busy schedule, and we are happy that you've made time for us this morning.
No problem, NY. I'm ready for you.
All right. So, I mean, there's this conversation about people being sued here and there for what we call defamation. That word seems a very huge word. For us in the creative arts industry, it seems to be happening lately. So we want to find out. Please, tell us, what is defamation? What is it at all, bro?
Okay, so NY, you see, in our lives that we live our lives in a way that we try to carve some niche for ourselves in a good way. In other words, you try to have a good reputation. And it's that reputation that people look on to see you as a mentor, to recommend you in the course of your job, your business. So if that good nature you carve for yourself in a political sense, in a media sense, in creative industry, in education, academics, people look onto you and they see you to be this good person with this good reputation. So if someone makes a statement that seeks to denigrate that good reputation of yours, then it means there's a problem. Because someone might see you as a mentor, someone might see you as his role model. So if the person hears that, is this person that I look up to, is this, that, and that, and it's not true, then it means that the person that statement has been made about has really been affected. So there is a course of action which is called defamation, which has been made available to that person who has been defamed to take action in court, possibly, and claim compensation. And you know, which have been damaged cannot be quantified in monetary terms sometimes. So sometimes they seek to claim huge sums of money in the form of compensation. The interesting thing is that to say you have been defamed is not that simple. Like people say you have been defamed. It's not that simple because for you to be able to establish defamation, there are certain things that you must establish that happen. So quite recently, you see that sometimes I think you can judge upon in respect of certain defamation suits and the action failed.
Yeah.
Because the requirement or things that must be established, the party was not able to establish it. So for there to be a successful course of action of defamation, certain things must be established. The first thing that the person alleged defamation must establish is that the statement that was actually made was defamatory. The statement itself that was actually made was defamatory. What do I mean by that? You see, it's not every statement that is defamatory in that. So the statement must be in a nature that if someone hears, it will lower you in the person's estimation. It will subject you to ridicule. It will subject you to hatred. It will subject you to contempt. It will subject you to even be shunned by your peers. So if I say, NYDJ, you are very good in your job, have I defamed you? I haven't.
No.
But when I make a statement that lower you in the right thinking members of society, that statement is a statement that may let people move away from you. Like I say, or a man has HIV. You realize that statement might cause someone to move away. If I say, oh, this person is a fraudster, in a business, no one will engage in business with you. Because you are not honest, you are dishonest. So the statement itself must be a defamatory statement. In other words, it must be a statement that lower you in the estimation of right-thinking members of society. So the first threshold that a party who alleges defamation must prove is that the statement itself is defamatory. In other words, it's not a statement that promotes the person's reputation. It's not a statement that elevates the person, but it's a statement that will lower the person in the estimation of right-thinking members of society. So that's the first threshold.
Okay.
Now the second threshold is that the party must establish that the statement was referable to him. In other words, the statement was about him. The statement being about him could be that the name was mentioned, or if the name was not mentioned, if you look at the statement in a reasonable and probable way, it could be calculated to be said that is this person that the declarant is referring to. So your name could be mentioned, your name might not be mentioned, but if we take all the circumstances into account, every reasonable person will draw a conclusion that then there is a person the statement is or the declarant is referred to.
So counsel, if I may break in, when somebody says, oh, maybe I say my you can still infer that this is who you are referring to.
That is so. That is if the statement can reasonably be calculated to be referable to that person. Now, anyway, the interesting thing is that you might go on social media and you say that Dennis Oppong Wiafe is a fraudster, right? You mention my name that I'm a fraudster. In your mind, you are referring to Dennis Oppong Wiafe in Kumasi, who is a lawyer. But there could be Dennis Oppong Wiafe somewhere, right? That might hear of the statement, that people might hear his name, and people will start calling, hey, I've heard this incident here, they are saying you are this, that, and that. So even where in your mind you are not referring to the person, there's a possibility where one statement that you made, about 5 people can sue you for defamation, because the statement can refer to all of them reasonably.
Wow.
You see the interesting thing? So you don't have to really make fanciful statements anyhow referring to persons or people, because if the other person is also able to show that what you said is calculated to refer to me as well, you might have multiple suits against you.
Wow.
So it's very interesting when we make statements anyhow on social media or to others. Because if the person is able to show that you are referring to me, even though in your mind as a declarant, you might not even know the person have met the person before, the person can take a successful action to some extent in defamation against you.
Interesting.
Then, having proved the two, there's the last one the claimant must also establish, or the party who alleges defamation must establish. He must also show that the statement was published, right? The statement was published. The publication here means that the statement was told to a person other than the person who is being defamed. So, in other words, a third party. Publication here doesn't mean go and tell the whole world. Go and tell 10 people. If I say something defamatory about another person to you, NY, the statement has been published.
Oh.
So, publication is not about a quiet number of people. It's not about saying it on social media only. But even if you say it to a third party, the defamatory statement should be published to a person other than the one being defamed.
It is a mekama drink chewa. And no mean defame you, but some make account who has some fro. Any no queer and only a defamation.
Yes, which is the statement which is defamatory in nature to the other person.
Yeah.
Do you understand it? Which will lower you in the person's estimation is defamatory.
Wow, any amount for be break can some more.
Yes, and you see, Ghana mostly we take Jaimaninka is there. So people will talk about it, but if we are really enforcing laws in Ghana, you realize that there will be so many lawsuits.
That's why
this course of action of defamation where the person can take action against in case you say something untoward to a third party. Right? It raises that possibility. And it's another interesting thing about communicating something defamatory to you, let's say on a WhatsApp platform or social media, and you republish it. You, the one who republish the defamatory statement, you can also be sued for defamation.
Hey.
So you retweet defamatory statement, you repost defamatory statement. It can even be that you have seen it and it's interesting to you, it's laughable to you. So you repeat it, or you republish it, or you reproduce it. If you do that, it means that you are fidelness. So that defamatory statement, they could be sued. And it's quite interesting that in Ghana you see a statement, defamatory statement on a WhatsApp platform, then someone will repost it, someone will send it to this platform. They are all and it's quite interesting.
Wow. This means for those of us who sit on radio, we must be extra careful.
Yes, I'll come to those who sit on radio. You have a privilege or a defense called qualified privilege. I'll talk about it when I get there. When I'm discussing the defenses that could be raised.
Okay.
Right. So, the defamatory statement. So, having gone through the three things that the claimant must prove, understand that the defamatory statement can be in the form of oral statement, which we call slander. It can also be in a permanent form, like writing, like recording, which is we call libel. You understand that? So it can take the form of just transient statements you make. It could be slanderous. When you make it in a permanent form or in a form of typing it, putting on social media, recording it, putting on social media, that is called libel. And there's an also interesting thing about defamatory. There's one that we call innuendo. Innuendo. The innuendos are not communicated in a direct way. Of this means you might not see anything defamatory about it, but when you draw a reasonable inference or where the knows of fact and is added to the statement that has been made of it, it's defamatory. So there are instances where someone thinks being careful, then the person will quote the statement. If you get what I'm making,
yes, I am.
If you quote the statement, or if it's not defamatory, but if a reasonable inference is drawn from the statement and it appears defamatory, you can still be sued, and that is called innuendos. That's called innuendos. Now, a claimant may be able to establish all these factors, prove that the statement is defamatory, proving that it's able to, proving that it was published. However, there are instances where the declarant who made that defamatory statement might be able to establish defense which will not make the course of action available against him. So there are certain defenses, certain justifications that will justify the person's statement, and the person will not be liable for defamation. One of these statements are, or one of these defenses are, when the statement is true. So, anyway, when the statement you are saying is true, you are able to prove that even though I made the defamatory statement, but it is true, then you are not liable for defamation. It can also be that you have the defense of consent. So you are making the publication, but you saw the person's consent, making the defamatory statement, which is very rare. It's not always likely to happen.
As I'm wondering how many people allow you to defame them, unless of course it be a person with the building hype.
Yeah, that is the point. So when you have the defense of consent, then possibly you are not liable for defamation. Then we have another defense called absolute privilege. The absolute privilege is granted to certain people that the law allows to make those statements, and it's absolute because you cannot take any action against them. An example is where a judge in delivering judgment or a judge in court makes a statement that you think is defamatory. Under our constitution, that judge is granted immunity from court proceeding in performance of his or her functions. So when the person making the statement has statutory or constitutional privilege to make the statement without any qualification, we call it absolute privilege. So the statement is made on the floor of parliament, the statement is made by a judge in a court or delivering judgment. It might appear defamatory, but you cannot really do anything about it. Then there's this also defense called fair comment. Fair comment. Comment in the form of, like sometimes during the media streams, there's a statement which has been put in the public domain, and the issue or the question is of public interest. Then you have been called upon to express your opinion about it. So there's this issue about, let's say, a president being corrupt or this minister being corrupt, and it's a matter for discussion. And you have been called upon to give your opinion about it. Now, when you express your opinion about it, and you make a statement which suggests that you are agreeable to the person being corrupt, if you have a factual basis for your opinion, and you express that opinion, and it's a matter which has been put in the public domain, and it's of public interest, then you can rely on the defense of fair comment. Then you also have this defense called qualified privilege. The qualified privilege relates to under our constitution, the media has given some freedom in expressing certain comments and certain statements in the course of your work. Now, if you make a statement which appears to be defamatory, the action will not really lie because you have this form of defense. But the defense is only available if it's established that you made those statements without malice. So if you are a media person and you sit on radio and you make a statement which appears to be defamatory, and the party alleging defamation is able to prove that there's some form of malice behind that, Then it makes you a privileged qualified one, and an action can be taken against you for defamation.
Oh, okay.
We also have some defense of statutory justification. This statutory justification is, let's say, where the police officers put on social media that you are wanted for this particular investigation or this particular crime. It might appear defamatory, but because they are performing statutory function, they are enforcing laws, they might have had some statute that they are relying on to do that. Like the quiet recently, where the special prosecutor declared the former Minister of Finance a fugitive of justice. It might appear to be, she might have a statutory justification for that. In that case, she cannot be sued for defamation. Now, the interesting bit about this defamation thing is that when you sue, you want compensation, you want remedy.
Yeah.
And when I listened to you this morning, I heard you mention that you see that when they sue for defamation, they quote a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
They do that because you cannot quantify someone's reputation. The person might have lost hugely. The business might have been affected. And those people who hear the good news cannot hear, those who heard that bad statement cannot hear the good news about it, whether it was true or not. So when you make defamatory statement, the person may claim compensation against you. Now the compensation or the remedies are in these headings. When it's established that there is defamatory statement, the court award general damages. That is the court's own discretion. Any reasonable amount that the court says can compensate the claimant, that's why they claim that amount of money. The court damages. Then there are also instances where that defamatory statement must cost you hugely. May cost you hugely to the extent that you might have lost a job, you might have lost your employment, you might have lost a business contract. If you to quantify it, even if it's $10 million US, and you are able to prove it that you lost this because of the statement, the court will award that amount to you. We call that special damages.
Wow.
Special damage. So it's quite interesting. When the person is able to establish what he lost in monetary terms based on the statement you made, the court will award. The court will not reduce it. Where the court exercise discretion is where you claim general damages. But if the person is able to prove that this statement that you made, I've lost this, I've lost that, the court will award that money. That money he is claiming he lost is to be awarded. And the other the remedy that they seek is in the form of injunction, that the court will restrain you in whatever way for not making any of those statements in any way. So that remedy too is there. Then there's also this remedy, apology. The party may also claim that make public apology to the person with the fame. There can also be this remedy of retraction, where whatever medium you use to make the defamatory statement, go to that platform and retract it and indicate that whatever you said was not true. So basically, in a very simple terms, this is defamatory as can be explained to a layman, and it requires a lot of things.
Wow.
Right, but in a very simple terms, these are all the things that defamation, or if you say defamation, what it's about. So it's not that simple, right? It requires a lot.
And that's a whole lecture given to us in 20 minutes. And I know there's something we couldn't have paid for, but we are really grateful that you spent time this morning to take us through all these for us to know what defamation is, what needs to be established, the reliefs that somebody can actually claim, and of course the defenses that one can also put up in a case of defamation. Counsel, thank you very much for speaking to us. Okay, I think my guest has just one question. Mr. Bones, please go ahead.
Yes, my lawyer, please, I want to ask this question. You know, most of times when somebody wants to speak ill about somebody, it goes like, it's alleged.
They deliberately use alleged. Okay.
Using the alleged, does it actually exonerate to the individual from being sued?
Okay,
so is my person, and the listener hears is alleged. It suggests that it's not a statement of fact. So it's possible. So that's why even sometimes when media people are speaking, when they are speaking on radio, they say alleged. So it's something like his opinion. He's not taking it as a statement of fact. So the person who is being public, then it's not. It might be false. But when you make it as a statement of fact that you know, then that's where issues of defamation comes in. Because one of the defenses to defamation is opinion. So I was expressing my opinion, but I was not making a statement of fact. So that's why they try to say alleged, so that when they are sued, they can rely on the defense of opinion.
All right. So for those listening, I'm speaking to Dennis Oppong Wiafe. He's a lawyer with Obeng Manu law firm here in Kumasi. Counsel, before I let you go, still on the issue of alleged, you made mention of the fact that if the listener is a reasonable person. Now the point is, who determines who a reasonable person is? Because there might be listeners who, irrespective of the fact that you use alleged, will still swallow or hold on to whatever it is you've said and move with it.
Yeah, so sometimes in that case, the person alleging the defamation must establish that you couldn't have made that statement if you did not have evidence. You see, sometimes people just hear of certain facts without reading into it, and they come and say it's alleged. It's alleged. In that case, as you rightly said, we don't have every person being reasonable, but in law, we always use reasonable man's test. So we try to take away those who are not really reasonable out of context. So it's one of the hazards of defamation. Because as you said, not everyone will be reasonable, and the person might draw a conclusion that then what you are saying might be true. And it's one of the hazards or defects when it comes to defamation.
Interesting. It means
that's the law.
It means we just need to be careful, even in using the word alleged.
That is true. That is true.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Counsel Dennis, for speaking to us this morning, and I wish you the best as you go to court today. And we'll meet later in the evening, right?
That is so. We will meet.
All right. Thank you very much, Counsel, for speaking to us this morning on 102.5 FM. Rise and shine.